My name is Qlik. I'm one of the account executives for Qlik that covers New York City, and I'm happy to be your MC tonight and talk to you guys a little bit about what we're going to do. So in a few minutes, we're going to kick off a brief panel discussion, and if everything looks good, maybe show you some cool things, and afterwards, we'll mingle for a few minutes. And if you have questions, we're here to answer any of those questions for you. But first, I'd like to introduce my co-hosts tonight. We have Chris Evans, who's the Chief Revenue Officer at Pingahla. Guys, Pingahla is a premier partner with Qlik. So the technology we bring to the marketplace, our friends at Pingahla put it into turbo mode for better business outcomes. So these guys are great, we love them. For the panel tonight, we have, very happy to have Tim Wong, who's the Senior Business Analyst with Visa. So Tim, thank you for joining us tonight. Look forward to hearing some of your insights. All right, and here's where it's really gonna get fun. You guys, we're here to talk about harnessing data quality for AI-driven success, okay? The two people I'm about to introduce are going to give you straight talk with what's going on with AI and data quality, okay? So we have Denise Gosline, who's our Senior Manager Solution Architect at Qlik. She's awesome, straight talk. And we have Christophe Antonie, who's VP Sales and Engineering at Qlik, who, if you haven't had a chance to talk to Christophe, you guys, he writes a lot of the code, a lot of the products. This is the brains behind it, so he's a great guy to talk with tonight if you have questions. All right, so in a few minutes here, we're going to start our panel discussion, and what you can expect here is, again, some straight talk with what's going on with data quality, why data quality is important, some of the things that our friends at Visa are doing and how they're approaching data quality, and what it means to AI and better business outcomes. So, anything else? Okay, perfect. So we're just going to set up here for a few minutes and we'll get right back to you. Thank you.
What are you doing now with AI? Are you using it professionally?
It sounds like a much fancier version of autocomplete, but it makes the whole autocomplete process much smarter because it's very fast. So a lot of times, in order to narrow down what needs to be
this is like the new talk host, new show, David Letterman, all of that. We're gonna make this fun, guys, all right? So, yeah, Jimmy Kimmel, all right. I don't watch late night talk shows, so I'm gonna do my best here. We're gonna make this fun. So this is gonna be the panel. We're gonna talk, right? Get some insights from some very smart people, but also if you guys have questions too, let's make this interactive better. A couple more drinks in you, I'm sure better questions may even come out, so please drink more. That's why it's free liquor, right? So, alright, I'm excited to be here. Hopefully everybody can hear me, right? I'm bad at memorizing everything, so I'm doing it old school. I'm not even using my phone. I'm going to use these nice cue cards. Remember we had to write on these little pieces of paper? Oh, index cards. Thank you, Denise. Okay, alright. Definitely going to do that. But yeah, as Brian mentioned, we want to kind of open up to this panel and talk about more around, data quality within AI, right? Everybody's talking about AI. I met a couple of you guys. Some of you guys are interested around AI, what's happening, especially around Qlik. We're going to get into that too. But I thought I'm going to take some smart people right here and talk about what they're doing, what they're seeing, right? So I'm going to kick it off, right? So put them under the spotlight rather than me, all right? So I'm going to start with Tim, right? I'm going to give you a hardball question, all right? Don't sweat under the light, please, all right? But, I know from your experience, especially now with the whole modern AI, how important or let's say crucial is data quality and more in the beginning and initial stages, especially with AI development? What do you have to say on that?
I think that's a funny suffix. How important is data quality in AI? But you could have said, how important is data quality in space? Data quality in building rocket ships? Data quality in New Jersey? It is important no matter what the suffix is. AI typically requires a lot of data to come in, and we in data, we know about business intelligence. That's kind of the precursor to AI reporting, and even there, data quality is important as well. So to me, the old saying that people say from the beginning still holds true today, which is dirty data in, dirty data out. But even more so because AI just augments or exponentiates any sort of bad data you have and increases the bias much more quickly.
And I agree. Dirty data in, dirty data out. I think we all understand the importance. And I'm going to pass it on to the person with the beautiful hair. Not you, Christophe, Denise. All right. So calm down. All right. I think Tim brings up some great points, right? Dirty data in, dirty data out. We understand the importance of AI. What would you say as you're working with new organizations, Denise? What are the conversations they're having? What are they doing, right? Especially as they're tackling these new AI initiatives.
One of the things that I see among my customers, most of them, is they're getting more into that predictive and generative AI. They want to be more proactive. And how can you be more proactive with a customer if I'm not talking to the right customer? I don't have the right information about that customer. Right? So in order to get all the quality data, get that data grouped together properly, how can you have those good conversations that are market and you'll connect to your customer to upsell, cross-sell, and those kind of things. So it's not just any opportunity, but when you want to start to be more proactive, you have to have that good data quality because you're not going to be able to do the types of predictive questions that you're going to want to do.
Dan, I agree. I think we're all looking to leverage AI to help us with more predictability, things of that nature, right? But now to the second person with the somewhat nice hair over here, right? These friends, they have to have somewhat nice hair. But as we expand on the importance of data quality, Christophe, and you have the advantage of talking to some great executives, right? And what are they doing? What do they plan on doing? And one of the things too is talking about the data itself, but what are the processes, governance that's also being enacted to ensure that we are, enabling the AI correctly and we are tackling these data challenges?
Thanks, Chris. I think Tim totally hit the main on, okay, data quality, it's the same as is water good for health? I mean, that's a no-brainer. However, I think philosophically speaking, most organizations will not argue with you that data quality is important. The reality is different. Is how do you think what the quality of data is? And as soon as you start that conversation with your executive, they will level down that conversation, they will ask the same question, okay, quality is important, but how is our quality today? How is the good quality, is bad quality, and that's how you set up the conversation. And what do you put in place to actually guarantee that the quality stays the level you expect? And it comes to every single person operating in the organization. It could be any people who touch the data, but also people who are part of the processes. So this is something which is an outlier. You can find that data is kind of fluffy, and then you can actually go into a scenario where you constantly look at the data, try to qualify the data, and try to actually fix the data. The other important part is how much you can automate. Because if you try to clean up the mess, like we said earlier, garbage in, garbage out, as soon as the garbage is too big, this is going to take you ages to actually clean it up. So it's important to prevent the data to be in there, and it's also important to automate the cleanup. Otherwise, you will actually spend a lot of time cleaning up, and then by the time you clean up the little swamp, then you have a lot of garbage coming in. So that's the best we can actually achieve.
Now, I'm just curious with this audience, who has dirty data? bad data in their corporation. Come on. I know it's not all sexy. It's all bad data. We all know that, right? So I think that's a common thing regardless of any organization you work with. We're all having bad data. Correct. And so what Christophe's saying, at least you're realizing it, understanding that you have a problem. Now how do you address it and fix it? And that's kind of my second question I had, and I'll start it back with Tim, right, is, you know, as we talked about the garbage in, garbage out, people realizing and understanding that they have these data quality issues, what are some challenges that organizations are facing when implementing these AI solutions with bad data that they know is bad, right? And what are they doing to kind of fix that, you think?
My philosophy is very simple. If it were easy to fix, it would be fixed already. So, what is helpful is understanding, breaking down the data quality into different segments, into different attributes. And you see a hint of it here on the dashboard up above. Consistency, and completeness, and validity, and timeliness. These are some attributes that where you can start to quantify how good the data quality is. And to be clear, it's not binary. It's not good versus bad. It's a sliding scale, 0% to 100%. And it can be as high as, let's say, 95%. And for some of your executives, 95% is good enough. But for other people, maybe it's not good enough. There will always be room for improvement, just like there's for room for improvement to improve your health. You might be in good health today, but you might not be in good health tomorrow, next week, next month. So there's always something else you can do to improve your health and improve your data quality. In terms of challenges, one big challenge that I think that's difficult to solve is the integration aspect. Where we're trying to bring in data from different data sources, whether it's accounting data, financial data, headcount data, HR data, and bring it out into one place so that we have a cohesive place where we can start asking some intelligent questions, which is like, has my increase in headcount proportionally increased my revenue as well? Well, to answer those questions, we have to have both those analytics in the same place. But maybe financial data comes in one format, maybe HR data comes in a different format, and that's the challenge that I think is that AI is going to be facing, is bringing all that in one place.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Tim. Regardless, knowing that you have bad data, but then how do you get that data? Because with multiple different sources, your snowflakes, your flat files, your SaaS solutions, there's many challenges around integration on that point. That's a great point. And Denise, what would you say is your conversations around organizations? What are they doing to tackle the integration with the data quality aspects? Maybe what is Qlik doing to simplify that? You know, Qlik has made some new strides with Talend. A lot of you here know Talend. Some of you don't even know Talend. You know Qlik. So what is the Qlik doing with Talend to help with the integration aspect that Tim has mentioned?
Yeah, so when I started selling data integration products 30 years ago, people first were admitted in a data quality problem. They kind of did it really well. As customers now start to come out more that we admit we have problems, the key is how do you make sure that you're fixing the data in flight as it's getting loaded into that new environment, right? And then also, how do you make sure that the data doesn't get bad again, right? So we might be doing a lot of things in a batch mode today, but then how can we reuse and leverage some of those data quality checks and performances in real time? So what we do is offer the customers the capabilities to integrate the data at the same time we're applying data quality. I also look at data quality as very, very specific types of transformation processes. Just like when you aggregate data, you sort data, you should also at the same time be able to cleanse, deduplicate, and make sure that your data is abiding by a business rule. So Qlik brings that capability to the table. So we won't let the customers integrate the data without applying data quality processes to it. And that's the added value that we bring to the table.
And the great thing too, right? So so we have Christophe here, and not to give away the full roadmap, right, what Qlik is doing, as Denise and Tim mentioned, around the changes and the updates of how they're simplifying the data integration and data quality. Christophe, can you kind of talk about like how is Qlik simplifying the data analyst role, the executive role, right? Kind of giving everybody a preview, more on the technology too, because at the end of the day, as we know that we have data quality, data issues, what are the tools that we need to help us do our jobs easier, right? What's out there? We're hearing a lot of these buzzwords, Snowflake, Databricks, AWS. But what are some solutions that can help, right? And I know we're going to get a preview of that, but it's great to get it from the French guy because it makes it sound a little sexier than I do.
What I would say, I mean, from a Qlik perspective, from people who know the analytics, so what we believe deeply is if you give a business analyst or data analyst a chance to ask a simple question to, they use their dashboard. Normally they use their dashboard, they are mastering their dashboard, they know exactly what to look for. If they have an assistant where they say, hey, show me the latest outliers that I've got into my dashboard today, and instantly you get into the narrow down into outliers, data that doesn't match, data that should have never been in that place before. Because that's also one of the value of Qlik is we are not like other analytics tools, we are an associative engines, and that tells you the opposite of what you are looking for. So in the context of data quality, you can actually use Qlik and all the AI techniques that we bring into the product to actually look for what you don't know yet. So knowing what you know, that's great. I mean, I'm sure team, you make millions and millions in detail knowing what you know best about your customers and behavior, but what about what you don't know yet? So that could be an untapped data that you can leverage everywhere. Then from an integration perspective, we can also use that as what Denise was mentioning. We can use some business rules that we put in there for some data pipeline and say, hey, why don't that business rules should be applied to that new source that looks similar, the metadata looks similar. Actually, if you take a sample of data and say, hey, that's actually, let's say, an SSN column, why don't you apply the same quality rules that you would have applied to a, I would say, pseudo encoding pipeline, but then you automate those kind of things to raise the level of quality and governance to the next degree. With suggesting suggesting the user, hey, why don't you apply that to that column or to that data set? Why don't you scan the data set to provide for any PII information? Because I believe that's going to also be the next challenge that AI solution will face in like privacy. You need to always secure that privacy is compliant. And then there is a lot of things about the data that you don't want to expose to the world. If I have an accountant, I should not have access to HR data from any AI solution. So you need to compartmentalize, also silo some of these tools that are coming in your workplace, make sure that they give the value but without putting you at risk. And that's pretty much from a roadmap perspective what we are driving for. It's supporting the pipeline to be smarter automatically and also helping the analysts to actually find things quicker and faster.
And I think that's great too, is you highlight, kind of the roadmap of what Qlik is doing, trying to help out the data analyst, help out the data engineer, right? And I think, talking about specific indicators around the data itself, privacy being one big one, everybody should be concerned about. We get data governance laws, of course, the government understand wants to make sure everything's regulated, and that's something with data too, right? And with that being said, with regulation and data and privacy KPIs, Tim, I would like to say, are there some key metrics around maybe even data quality and integration from your point of view as an organization, as an analyst that you're looking at, especially maybe tackling on an AI initiative that's important to you? And I know you mentioned some of the indicators here on the data quality side, but what would be more important, you think, for you and your organization?
I think you can boil it down to two types of metrics. There's the metrics of the data coming in and metrics regarding the output going out, the responses that somebody might get from an AI question. And I think we're already familiar with that second half where you ask a question, it gives you a response, and you can give a thumbs up or a thumbs down whether that response was on par with what you were expecting. And that feeds into the algorithm, or that feeds into the engineers to further enhance the algorithm. But that's after the fact. as engineers, as developers, we always want to be proactive in getting the input of high quality as well. And there's a number of things you can measure. And this goes back to the challenges that we just talked about a moment ago, where we want to measure things like the completeness of the data, the consistency of the data, because these are quantifiable attributes as well as industry common attributes that other people in the field, other developers can understand and can relate with, that now we can measure how well our company is doing across these attributes.
And hopefully you guys are kind of hitting some of the things that this panel is talking about that resonates with you guys, right? And I think, looking at specifically those KPIs around the data, as Christophe mentioned, and I think Christophe, you mentioned earlier, is automation too. And as Tim talks about, these are important for his organization. What are we doing around the automation side to make it easier for the business analyst to say, hey, my data is wrong, I'm getting the wrong integration points, I'm having these privacy concerns. So I'd like to talk and expand more on that, Denise, on the automation, and what are you seeing that customers are looking for on the automation side to make their job easier, especially with AI. AI is supposed to make everything automated. I wish I could do my dishes this morning and my laundry that I need to do. It's been in the past week, right? I'm just curious around the automation aspect.
Yeah, so from an automation aspect, one of the things that I start to see and hear from your customers too is being able to help automate to understand the data, right? So when we talk about data profiling, understanding the data, but then also not just knowing the data, but also automating how that data is, what it means to an organization. How do you start to classify that data? Is that data that's sensitive, like a social security number? Is it information that means something to the organization, right? People look at the data in an organization very differently. IT looks at things like lengths, data types. Business looks at information like, oh, this is a social security number, it should be 9 characters long, and very descriptive. So customers want that level of automation too. It's not just always around the quality of the data, but it's also the quality of the metadata that's defining the data, right? So I always hate the data about data concept, but automating that process, so when people are building analytics, looking at the data, they're looking at the right set of data because it's been automated, documented, and curated properly. So that's some of the things that I'm starting to see too around automation.
And I think with automation also kind of resonates with another keyword you probably guys heard years and years is data governance, right? So whether we talk about data quality, we're talking about AI, we're talking about automation, there's an aspect of data governance that also takes play here, because without the governance aspects, a lot of this can fall to the wayside. It's like the Wild Wild West, it's like Westworld. Have you guys ever seen that show? Great show. But it's like, hey, we need to put some guardrails around the business, users using the data engineers, and etc. So kind of taking it from understanding what are my KPIs that are important for my organizations, how do I automate that and making it better, but then how do you incorporate, Christophe, data governance in the mix, kind of tying that bow on it for the executive to get insights with his data, right? Leveraging the AI to the lonely data engineer that some of you are, building out those pipelines, right? How does that come to all fold?
Alright, so I'm going to sound maybe communist or whatever, but I'm a big fan of empowering the user to build the grants for the data that they need the most. I mean, if I'm a user of a data set, and I strongly believe that data set is clean, curated, and perfect, I want the data set to be certified to be used by my exec, by my HR, by whoever in the organization will actually use and benefit. So empowering the data users to actually create that kind of cycle where they self-govern their data sets, and they create almost a product from that data. You probably heard the notion of data product, and that's where we are going to sanitize, slowly slowly but surely, and then you are going to start to project those data sets. Of course, an IT organization, a CEO, someone responsible for how much that data needs to be shared across the company will have to put a stamp as soon as that data set is ready for prime time to be used by third-party application or third-party different silos in the organization. But at the end of the day, you have done the groundwork by taking care of that governance from the people who know the best the data, and then you elevate that to a situation where, okay, now it's being authorized to be used. You cannot then monetize your data that way. I mean, a lot of organizations, I don't know about Visa, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I guarantee you that companies like Visa, American Express, they are also there to actually almost like Facebook and other companies like that to resell some data about you, not with the privacy information, but the value that you can bring to a third-party person.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's what we're starting to see, everybody monetizing their data. I think that's important. So, I know we're getting up to the time, but I want to ask one more question to Tim, and I'm going to quickly open up for any Q&A that you guys may have real quickly, and then we'll get to the real sexy good stuff, where we'll start showing some of the solutions, how AI is working within Qlik too. So, one question for you, Tim, before we wrap this up to the group. So that we don't have the Terminator world come, right, and the Matrix taking over. I'm just curious, your perspective, how still important is it for that human intervention with AI, right? Or we still have to have us in there? We're hearing, you don't need anybody, you don't need people. AI can do everything. To me, I think that's BS, but I would love to hear it from your side. Is that human interaction still needed for AI? Or is it going to take over my job as a speaker too? So I'm thinking I'm doing good, but will it take over?
I think that there will be a future, maybe in your grandchildren's time period, where you don't have to babysit AI anymore. Where you go to the TSA pre-check and there are no humans, it's just a scanner. Or you go to a doctor's office and there are no humans, the x-ray already spits out yes, no, whether you have cancer or not. We will eventually get there where babysitting is so minimal. But today, in 2024, ChatGPT just lost a hero. And the Google Pixel 9 it just got AI baked right in, and Apple has their Apple Intelligence baked right in. That's here. We're at the beginning, not the end of AI. I think right now the human oversight is exactly is a must-have while we're babysitting the AI. You keep nudging it in the right place. It's not like having children. Eventually you don't have to babysit your children anymore. You trust that they're making good decisions. But in the early years, you're constantly nudging your children in the right direction to become better adults. In the same way with AI, nudging in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree. I like that too. Just nudge them in the right direction. But guys, I want to open it up, make it a little more interesting. Any questions for the panel? Take silence as no. You guys want more drinks? More? You guys want to see the real sexy stuff with Qlik, right? I know. All right. So listen, I want to give a round of applause to my panel, Christophe, Denise, Tim. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for taking the time listening. So we're about to kick it off. Switch off. I'm going to go back to the host. He's going to pass it on, and he'll let you know what's next.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Give me 2 seconds, and we'll get right back with you.